If you can cut out these 5 things from your life right now, you'll massively increase your productivity and the amount of time you have to spend on things that you enjoy doing. My name's Alex, I'm a surgeon, and I also built a number of edtech companies to 7 figures in revenue around my surgical training, so I know a little bit about effective time management. And I promise that if you watch the end of today's video, you'll massively increase the amount of time that you have to spend on the things you love doing rather than on those things that drain your time and sap your energy. So with that being said, let's jump into the first time drain on the list. We're going to kick off with the number 1 biggest time drain on the list in my opinion, which is focusing on other people rather than on ourselves. When I was a medical student, I remember being really worried about what other people were doing, the exam grades they might get, how much work experience they were getting, and just generally everything that was happening in their lives rather than on my own. And this is something that affects lots and lots of people. If we look around us, we're always concerned about how other people are doing, whether that's watching people on Instagram share their photos of their lives on the beach or earning money, or whether it's just about our friends and focusing on what they are doing rather than on building up ourselves. Now, for some people, this gets really chronic and can be a huge drain on our own time. Not only do we become obsessed with what other people are doing and their actions, but we actually stop taking action ourselves and spend a lot of our brain's cognitive ability focusing on what other people are doing rather than what we're doing right now. And one of the things that I found here was, first of all, just to identify when we're doing this. Now, the reason I put this time drain first on the list is that if you don't stop it early on in your life, it can affect everything else going forward. For example, if you start a business, you might start obsessing over your competitors rather than on executing your own vision. If you want to start a YouTube channel or become a creator, you might be obsessing over how many followers other channels have rather than carving out your own niche. And in my opinion, the best way to tackle this is to first identify and understand when your brain falls into these bad habits. For example, if you're just chilling out, sat on the couch, and your brain suddenly starts thinking about other people, or you start worrying about how other people are doing rather than yourself, you just need to be kind to yourself, acknowledge that that's happening, and try and put in a bit of a cognitive interrupt. So you might do something like clap your hands, you might stand up and go for a little walk around, you might practice some meditation, and then just by identifying when these episodes happen, your brain will naturally start to train itself out of these bad habits, and you'll start focusing just on yourself. The other really good hack here is to acknowledge that everyone is so obsessed about themselves and their own lives that they're not really paying you a huge amount of attention, and you shouldn't worry about what other people might be thinking about you or what they're doing more so than what you're doing. For example, if you're going to the gym for the first time and you're a little bit worried about lifting lighter weights than everybody else in the free weights area, just remember that everyone had to start off at the first stage at some point, and most of the people lifting weights are going to be so focused on their own workout they don't really care about you at all. And that's a really good cognitive hack and mental model that you can follow throughout your whole life. Whatever you're doing, focus on your journey, focus on your own business or whatever it is you're building, and ditch thinking about anybody else, as it's just a massive time drain, and if you kick it early, you'll hugely free up your time to focus on the things that matter. A really practical way to overcome this is to jump into ChatGPT and ask it to behave like a productivity coach and enter the specific details around your own circumstances about when and how you're thinking about other people and focusing on their problems rather than on your own. And what will happen here is that ChatGPT will output a series of steps that you can undertake to try and stop thinking about others and focus on yourself. So as we can see from this example, it's giving us a 5 to 10 step plan that we can put into action right now, and you can have a conversation with the productivity coach talking through your own specific circumstances and needs, and then you can put these into action to overcome it. Time drain number 2 to kick on our list is probably the most obvious one that you can think of, and it's doom scrolling across social media. Social media apps like Instagram or TikTok or Facebook have been psychologically designed to hook people's attention and keep them in the platform because that's how they show ads to people and that's how they make money. The bad news here is that it hooks everybody, especially at the end of the day when we're feeling a little bit tired and our willpower is at its lowest. The problem here is that we fall into these bad habits of scrolling with our thumb on social media through Instagram or TikTok for those quick dopamine hits when we're feeling a little bit tired or a little bit down, and then we see that video of the dog doing something funny or someone falling over or a sports goal that seems really cool, and then we just stay in the app rather than focusing on our own goals. Now, I've been super guilty of that too, but what we need to do here is to try and think of how we're using social media. Particularly for me, when I'm building a business, social media is a really good place to be, to share your value with everyone out there and to actually try and advertise your product and sell things to people. So if you're going on social media, remember to have a purpose and be tactical. That might be to identify some great creators that you can learn from. If you're running a business, it might be to identify some adverts that have got a really good hook or an ability to convert users into paying customers, or it might just be looking at creators that you want to mimic and mocking up your profile in a similar way. Whatever it is, try not to fall into that bad habit of just meaninglessly and pointlessly scrolling through social media, looking at all of the content, and then feeling bad about your own life because you're comparing yourself to others. Remember, a lot of the stuff on social media is put out in a way to get you to take action. And often this might be showing you people who are driving fast cars or sailing yachts or have lots of money, but most of the time this is completely made up, and it's all to try and get you to mimic them or to sign up to their course or newsletter, which is complete BS, but it hooks you into that bad frame of mind and you stick within the platform scrolling through more and more of these nonsense posts and just feeling a little bit bad about yourself, which is not a good place to be in. Now, there are a couple of things that I've done to hack my way out of this. Firstly, if I'm using social media, I'll have all of my apps on my phone in a specific folder and I'll mark that as business. This is just a quick trick that I find is really helpful, but it means that when I'm going into those apps, I'm immediately seeing my reason for being there, which is business. And so it puts me in a frame of mind to remember I'm not going on for entertainment or just to waste my time. I've actually got a purpose, and that's to try and grow my own business, grow my following, or whatever it is that you're trying to do. Another really good hack here is to put your phone away from you at key times when you know that you're prone to using social media. So for example, for me, I try and keep my phone out of my bedroom so I'm not tempted to scroll through social media in the morning when I wake up or when I'm going to bed at night. And for sleep, this also has the added benefit of not exposing you to blue light, which actually reduces your brain's ability to sleep by reducing your melatonin, which is one of the key chemicals for sleep. Finally, if you're doing work and you're getting distracted by doom scrolling through social media, there's some scientific studies that have shown that if you put your phone in a completely different room and make it really difficult to access, then you're much less likely to get distracted by things like notifications or things popping up on your phone that might pull you back into those apps. And that's a quick bonus tip, which is just to disable all of the notifications on things like Instagram or TikTok. If you're using them for business, you do probably still need the apps, so you don't necessarily want to archive or delete them. And failing that, switching off the notifications and putting them at the back of your phone, or just doing a detox for 20 to 30 days is a really good way to break bad habits, and it's something that I'd highly recommend doing at least once this year. If you're struggling with doom scrolling, you can enter the prompt, "You are a productivity expert, and I want you to help me stop my social media addiction." These are the times that I use Instagram or TikTok or whatever app it is you're struggling with, and this is what I'm focusing my time on. Please give me a series of steps to help me reduce my social media addiction and get me focused on the things that matter. ChatGPT will then output a quick coaching plan for you and ask you for a little bit more information so that it can help you in as personalized way as possible. And this is a great way where you can get coaching through ChatGPT rather than having to pay for an expensive coach to change your behavior right now. Our next time drain on the list to kick is watching TV that's pointless, and especially watching things like the news, which might not be the most positive thing to put in your brain. I've been really guilty of this in the past, where I've come back from work, especially when I was working long hours as a surgeon, and sticking on some stuff in the background like Love Island, just looking at things like the news or sticking on Sky Sports and endlessly listening to information that doesn't really make me feel better about myself or help me to learn anything, and it's just some kind of stimulation in the background because my brain's been racing all throughout the day and I want that added stimulation and dopamine hit from putting on that TV because I'm associating it with some kind of good feeling. But actually, if we can kick that habit and allow our brains to rest and recover, either from doing something productive like reading a book or meditating or going out for a run, and replacing that kind of TV time or watching the news time that might have become a bit of a habit for us, then we can actually focus on things that are a lot more productive. Now, I'm not saying completely ditch watching TV at all, because there might be some really good shows that you like watching, so things like Shogun, or if you're a Game of Thrones fan, any of the Game of Thrones series apart from probably the last series. But you can carve out time for watching your favorite shows within a set period of time, rather than just switching on the TV and aimlessly watching things that aren't positive or that you don't enjoy. And it's a really subtle difference between watching every show that's out there and watching a show with your partner or your friends, or something that you're going to get actual enjoyment out of and maybe a little bit of learning from, compared to just watching things like the news, which tend not to provide you with anything too positive and can get you in that bad state of mind, particularly before bed. For me personally, I hardly watch any live TV at all, and I definitely don't watch the news. The things that I watch tend to be my favorite favorite shows on Netflix or Amazon Prime or whatever it is, but I'll watch those shows at a deliberate time when I'm focusing on taking a break and I'm not feeling guilty because I'm procrastinating and putting off any work. I'll get my work done in the morning, I'll go to the gym, I'll get more work done in the afternoon, and then I'll take a deliberate hour or two just to chill out and watch my favorite shows before winding down for the evening and switching off my racing mind. ChatGPT can help here too by giving you a schedule for when you can take breaks and when you can watch your favorite shows. By entering in some of the details around your favorite shows and your existing work schedule, you can get ChatGPT to create a timetable in an Excel format which you can then download or just copy into your own diary, and it will optimize when you should take your breaks and when you can watch some of these shows so that it's not completely distracting and you're not getting pulled into negative things like the news or watching endless amounts of Netflix shows that you know just aren't helping you. And it's another great example of how we can use technology to coach us out of some of these bad habits. Now, the number 4 time drain to kick might be a little bit controversial and you might not want to hear this, but in my opinion, it's to ditch any type of drama that's in your life. Often drama comes from the people that we hang out with or the job that we're in, and a lot of the time this can cause our brains to just be filled with complete nonsense, make us feel bad and distract us from doing the important things in our lives. Now, when I'm talking about drama, this might be things like friends complaining to you about something going wrong in their lives, or it might be a partner who's giving you lots of grief, or particularly in things like work, if you're in a toxic work environment, it could be things as bad as bullying or gaslighting or just not getting as much fulfillment out of your job as you would like to, and then coming back feeling completely drained and having to offload that to somebody else. Now, all of these things put you into a very negative headspace and mean that you get disincentivized from actually working on things like a side hustle or learning or even going to the gym and doing things that can help you get better in yourself. The problem is that ditching drama can be very challenging, particularly if that drama is coming from someone that you live with or from a work environment. And I've got a couple of top tips about how you can go about fixing this. So first up, assuming you can't quickly quit your toxic job or get out of a bad relationship immediately today, the best thing to do is often to talk through some of the issues and figure out if there's a way that you can reduce this from taking over your brain and causing you to be distracted from the things that matter. So for example, in a workplace, if you've got a problem in work, the best thing to do is to go to a senior manager or someone that you can talk to safely and explain what's going on and see if you can fix it and work it out. Now, if you can't, you then probably need to take it to the next level and step back and think, is this something that I want to be doing with the rest of my life? And can I actually switch things up by changing jobs or changing roles or going out solo by myself? Because that's going to make my life much more fulfilling and give me more time in a positive headspace. Equally, with things like relationships, you should always try and talk things through first, whether it's with friends or partners, before taking that big step to ditch them and move on completely. Remember, your personality and mood reflects the people that you hang around with the most. And so if you tend to hang around with negative people or people who are bringing you down, you're never going to be your best self. And it might be time to make some tough decisions and kick those toxic individuals out of your life so that you can go into monk mode and level up this year. Quitting a job or a relationship is a very big decision. And again, we can use tools like ChatGPT and its coaching ability to enter in our specific information about our jobs or the toxic work environment or a toxic relationship and then get some advice. So we can ask ChatGPT to act as a relationship coach or as a work coach and talk through the specific problems that we've got. ChatGPT can even output specific emails to send toxic colleagues in work or navigate around difficult circumstances in a relationship where otherwise you might just be left on your own or need to pay for expensive counseling in order to get you through some of these problems. It's not perfect, but it's a great way to start and it's much better than nothing. The last time drain to kick on the list is something that I'm going to show you how you can kick right now in as actionable and practical way as possible. And that time drain is repetitive or meaningless tasks that we're assigning our time to right now. So what I will often do here is a little bit of a task check. Well, I'll write out anything that I'm doing that isn't focusing me on my main goals. And this might be things like chores, it might be things like having pointless meetings in work, it might be doing something that I don't enjoy doing that's taking my time away from me working on my business or my own goals. And then I'll look through that and think about how I can either delegate them or remove them. So for example, if you spend a lot of your time cleaning your house or your flat or your workspace, think about how you can actually offload that. And can you actually exchange money to get that time back? So for example, for me, I pay a cleaner who will come and clean my office area and my house so that I don't need to do that. And that then frees me up from cleaning and tidying, but it also means I've got a really clean and productive workspace that I can jump into at any time. And the other thing is, I'm just not that very good at cleaning. So having someone else who's paid to do that is a massive boost to my productivity and just helps me live a slightly more fulfilling life by getting that task that I don't enjoy out of my to-do list. In my businesses, one of the biggest time sinks is people scheduling meaningless meetings. Now, because I own the company, I've set it so that if anyone calls a meeting, there needs to be an agenda, there needs to be a memo circulated with the need for the meeting before the meeting actually takes place, so that when people jump onto a Zoom meeting or an in-person meeting, we actually know why we're bringing a diversity of opinions and what the result needs to be. This makes for a much more focused use of people's time and saves people a ton of time in the business so they can actually get on and execute rather than having their diaries filled up with meeting after meeting after meeting, which is just a huge time sink. A couple of other quick hacks here too. As you're looking through the things you do either at home or in work, think about what is repetitive that it doesn't really need your cognitive power to execute on. So this might be things like sending emails or writing essays or summarizing notes if you're a student, and think about how you can use technology like ChatGPT to cut down your time or cut out repetitive tasks where you can get back the time and focus on the areas of your life that matter. Now, a big one that I hear people talk about all the time here is taking notes or creating flashcards or active recall questions from their study materials. Now, traditionally, you might write these out yourself or you might take notes in class, but now with things like ChatGPT Voice, you can actually record a lecture, get it summarized, turn it into active recall questions, and then test yourself after class and even get coaching using ChatGPT. And this is just one example of many about how you can optimize with technology to save you tons of time and cut out things that just drain your time and move your focus away from what matters. Now, there are tons of things that can drain our time, and often when our willpower is low and we're feeling a little bit tired, we're more likely to fall into bad habits and lose time to things like procrastination or doing repetitive tasks that don't actually focus us on our goals. What you want to do here is to make sure you're getting adequate sleep, adequate nutrition, adequate exercise, and you're generally optimized to get the most out of your time so that you're not falling into bad habits. Now, if you want to find out a little bit more about how you can be productive using technology and things like ChatGPT to stay as productive as possible, I've got a great video on using ChatGPT for productivity, which I'll pop up over here. Thanks so much for watching and subscribing to the channel, and I'll catch you again in the next video. See ya.